Hi, here we are with Sir Gawain, or Gawain, in the Green Knight. By the way, let's get this off the table right from the start. If you saw the recent movie that was made, forget it. That thing is not at all what the poem's about. It's not even close. So if you answer questions or write an essay based on that film, trust me, you're going to fail. Oh my God. So this poem was written approximately the same time as the Canterbury Tales. It is from a different region of England, a different dialect, one which is harder to understand. And therefore our textbook has, of course, translated it for us into modern English, contemporary English. If you do want to see, for instance, a little bit of what it looks like, you can take a look at page 202, 203, and you can see why it is significantly more difficult than Chaucer for a beginning reader to read. Okay, so that's that. Now, one of the things that you'll notice right away in reading the poem is the structure we call the bob and wheel. So every stanza has regular length lines, right? Once the siege and assault of Troy had ceased, right? Iambic pentameter, basically. But the number of lines that they do that way, that the poet uses, varies in stanza to stanza. What does not vary is the end of the stanza, which is, it has what we call a bob and wheel structure. The bob is 1 meter. 1 meter means basically there's a soft, hard beat. It is, shall we say, acceptable in the arithmetic of poetry to have another extra unstressed syllable after the stress if that happens, but typically not. Okay, so typically you just have a soft, hard, boom, boom, and then 4 lines that are significantly shorter. Okay, maybe trimeters, and wonder, dread, and war. Okay. Also, these are rhymed. The bob and wheel are held together by a rhyme scheme, an A, B, A, B, A rhyme. The rest of the stanza forms are not necessarily rhymed, okay, when they have alliteration. As you remember, for instance, when we were talking about Beowulf, the repetition of beginning consonant sounds, right? It was Christmas at Camelot, King Arthur's court, right? You got ka, 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 all those K sounds, right? And so you have kind of a combination of alliteration, but also the rhyme at the end of the bob and wheel. And one of the discussion thread questions asks you to examine these bob and wheel structures, see what's going on there. You know, why do we have them? You know, why does the poet use the bob and wheel? Be very interesting to see what some of you find out about that. Now, this is an Arthurian tale, and we talked about this briefly with the Wife of Bath's tale, because the Wife of Bath's tale centers around the Arthurian court. And I said at the time, and I'll repeat myself, the Arthurian tales are kind of a Velcro, right? You can throw almost anything onto it, and it'll stick, right? Because of the very nature of the round table and the notion of knights going off and having various adventures. You can have lots of different knights having lots of different adventures. Not always necessarily a coherent adventure like the quest for the Holy Grail. Thank you, Monty Python. But, you know, in general, it can be all kinds of things. And so this particular telling of the tale, of the Arthurian tale, is, again, this is the pre-Lancelot. Okay, so, by the way, Lancelot's a French character, right? There's a whole, you can study this whole thing on your own if you wish. But essentially, as I said, because Arthurian tales were like Velcro, eventually the Lancelot-Guinevere adulterous relationship was kind of, quite frankly, manufactured quite deliberately. Although it turned out that it worked very, very well, because it's kind of a decline and fall of Eden type story, right? Where Camelot, albeit it is a silly place, Camelot is an Eden, if you will, and it is the adulterous relationship between Lancelot and Guinevere that, of course, brings down the whole edifice of Arthur's court, Camelot, and all that represents. None of that matters in this tale. None of that is part of this tale. This is all basically pre-Lancelot. Lancelot actually does show up at one point, but he is basically just in a list of knights whose names begin with L. Right? He's not important. Right? He doesn't factor into this tale in any real way, shape, or form. So push that to the side. The center of the tale is Gawain, of course, right? Hence the name. The court that we see is really a very young court. The Arthur that we see is not the old Arthur, but the young Arthur. Okay? He is the person who is bouncing around, happy as a clam. Seems a little contradictory sort of metaphor for somebody bouncing around to be described like a clam. But here we are at Christmas time, the Christmas season. They have 15 days, right? A fortnight and a day of celebrations, right? Tournaments, jousting, lots of eating, all the good stuff, right? As it says, it was at line 54, all these fair folk in their first age. In their first age. As I said, this is the young. This is the innocent. One might even call it naive stage of Camelot. Okay. Guinevere does make her appearance at the beginning of the poem, and she is described in very idealized ways, right? An idealized beauty, if you will. And again, I just want to emphasize this is not the adulterous Guinevere of later stories, right? Now, in this tale, Arthur refuses to sit down to eat until something wonderful and fabulous has happened, right? He wants a tournament, a challenge, a story. Something's got to happen, right? And so far, nothing has really happened, so he is not eating. Okay? He has not sit down to eat yet. In comes the Green Knight. Now, it's very tempting for me to say something like, ho, 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 right? For the commercial, the Green Giant. And I envision the Green Knight's entrance into the hall very much in this way, solid green. And this reminds us of, at least reminds me of, as I said, the Jolly Green Giant from the ad campaign. And that's not an accident, because he is essentially what we could call a vegetable god. Now let me describe what I mean by that, besides the fact that he's actually, thoroughly green. What is it about nature? It grows. Right? It grows. It is a fountain of life, if you will. We need it. But like when I was a kid, my dad always made me mow the lawn. You mow the lawn one weekend, guess what? You got to mow the same lawn again the next weekend. And the next weekend. That's why he made me do it. So, keep that in mind. Because when this green giant comes in, and everybody's like, oh my gosh, look at this guy. It's amazing. Right? He's green. His horse is green. Everything's green about him. Right? And he starts, kind of making a bit of a fuss of things, right? And he comes out eventually with a proposal. Right? The exchange of blows. That's what we call this. This is the exchange of blows. You hit me, I'll hit you. Now, some of us, particularly maybe of the more foolish variety, may remember this from playgrounds. Right? The exchange of blows. Maybe you never did this, and that's fine. That's good if you didn't. Okay? You hit me, and I'll hit you. Only this is not a playground hit. This is a big old axe. He says, somebody, hit me with this axe, and in a year and a day, I will hit them. Now, if you're like me and you remember mowing the lawn weekend after weekend after weekend, you might be pretty hesitant to do such a thing. In fact, everybody in the court was kind of quiet and shocked. Right? Which is a humongous embarrassment to King Arthur. Here are all the greatest knights of England, and nobody's willing to step up. So Arthur himself volunteers to step up. Now, of course, can't have the king doing this. Absolutely not. Right? And so Gawain says that he will do this instead. Right? As he says, what is it, line 354, I am weakest of your warriors and feeblest of wit. Loss of my life would be the least lamented. Were I not your nephew, my life would mean nothing. To be born of your blood is my body's only claim. Now, he's being a little falsely humble, perhaps, here. But basically, he's saying, let me do this. And so he does. Right? He whacks the Green Knight's head off, right? Head goes rolling around. Again, it's like a scene from a movie. Right? Blood spurting out, green blood everywhere. Okay? The knight's body picks up the head, and says, all right, meet me in a year and a day. All right? It's not good. It's not good. Right? Men know my name is the Green Chapel Knight, and even a fool couldn't fail to find me, so come or be called a coward forever. Okay? So, off he goes with his head in his hand. And everybody's like, well, that was fun. Pass the jelly. Oh, yes. And at the end of that first part, it says, mind your mood, Gawain, lest dread make you delay or lose this lethal game you've promised you will play. Right? So already from the start, we have this game. But this is truly going to be multiple games. We have this game that we already have on the table. We have the exchange of blows. Then we're going to have another sort of game that I'll talk about in part 2.